What's up, ladies and gentlemen, Universal Mastery? Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. I know a lot of you are returning to learn something new, and you have continuously been consuming the content on my YouTube channel, and you know who I am. But if you're new, let me give you a little bit of a understanding of what I do here on my YouTube channel. I break down the occult sciences to a very practical degree so that you can simply use them and apply them in your day-to-day life and get real, actual results with what it is that I am teaching here on my public channel by applying your observation and awareness. Very simple to do. Okay, once again, a lot of you already know who I am. Let me give you a little bit of a perspective of me if you are unaware. Okay, because it's important to know where your information that you are absorbing is actually coming from. Okay, my name is Jeremiah Schwartz. I am a professional occultist. I'm fully initiated in the entirety of the Kabbalistic tree, and I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck, and I'm also studied when it comes to planetary energies in direct association with astrology. Okay, now what is the topic of our today's video? Now, this topic is going to be one of the more so fundamental topics that definitely does get a little bit nuanced, but the main reason actually why I'm going to be speaking about this topic is because I specifically had a Patreon member request this topic to me. And as I read the request, I realized, this is probably a topic that a lot of people have questions on. So I think it's worth making an entire video on. Okay. Now, just in general, I have a growing Patreon with about 170 members. And as I said, it is growing by the day. So there are a lot of people that do ask me questions on the Patreon, and I do not have time to answer those questions. So do not take it personal if I don't get back to your question. It's simply the fact that there are hundreds, literally hundreds of people, or excuse me, there are over 100 people that are asking me questions almost all the time that are extremely long. And in order for me to do what I need to do to make videos like this, I can't be sitting down answering and reading all those questions. But every now and then, the benefits of being a Patreon member is if I'm going to be responding, guess what? It is going to be a Patreon member that I will read and respond to. So in this case, every now and then there is a specific question that crosses my awareness and I cover it. Okay, so this is one of those cases. If you're interested in the Patreon, it's the first link in the YouTube description. Tons of occult content over there. But yeah, we're going to go into the subject of the video, which was requested, which has everything to do with aspects. What are aspects of different entities? What are faces? What are masks? These are all different terms, and these are all different words to describe an energetic concept that you will eventually be coming across when you start to take your occult practices and studies a little bit more seriously than the average person. Okay, so if you want to really understand what an aspect is of a force or of an entity, then this is obviously your video. I'm going to be breaking it down to a very practical degree, so stay tuned. Okay, so let's talk about it. So what is an aspect of an entity? Okay, what exactly does this represent? Okay, what is a mask of an entity? What is a face of this entity? And let's start with this. I always love to start these videos off with drawing a context so that people that are consuming my content can really understand they're not the only ones that are oftentimes confused about these certain terms that are used in the occult field. Okay, so there are a lot of people that hear about different aspects of an entity. So this naturally can confuse people that are not necessarily as advanced within their occult studies and practices, because oftentimes when you're beginning within the occult, a lot of the times, not all the times, but a lot of the times, everyone thinks that the entities that they are invoking or that they're working with, whatever the case is, whatever words you want to fill in the blanks with in regards to dealing with a certain type of energetic force, a lot of the times people think that these forces, these entities, only exist outside of themselves, as if there's not a connection directly between your own unconscious, subconscious, and to the entity that you're invoking. Okay? And what tends to happen is a lot of people identify every single entity that they are studying about or working with or invoking, and they like to think that this entity is its own separate 100% outside of themselves personality that takes on its own archetypal form. Okay, this is a common belief and mistake that a lot of people make when they start getting into the occult field. And the reason why this is a mistake is because the more you identify entities and spirits as just being outside of yourself, as if there's no real connection between your own mind, your own unconscious and subconscious, and the entity that you are invoking, then you are starting to see an image of a force and you're starting to give it human characteristics. You're starting to think that this external force is an actual personality completely separate from you as a human being. Okay? When in reality, these entities, these spirits, do not have personalities the way that we do as human beings. Rather, it's our own unconscious and subconscious that gives entities any form of personality that we could attribute to it. We are the vehicles, essentially, is what I'm saying. We are the vessels that give these entities personalities, because the entities also represent an aspect within our own human, unconscious, and subconscious mind. So the entity exists as its own energetic structure due to universal principles that could fall along the lines of different alignments within the solar system, different constellations, zodiacs, planetary energies, and just space in general, dark energy in general within the universe. They have their own energetic existence in a lot of those astrological constructs, but the way that they operate here on the physical plane is through the vehicle of our human unconscious and subconscious mind to then make it physical. Okay, so these entities do not have personalities the way that we do as human beings. We give them personalities by our connection between our unconscious and subconscious when we're working with that entity, so to speak. So I hope you're really able to absorb this information that I'm sharing, because this is very important. The more you think these entities and these spirits are separated from you and completely different from you in those regards and exist outside of you, the more you're going to want to give it a human-like personality. The more you're going to think it is its own human-like being, which has nothing to do with its true nature. Once again, these entities take on a lot of their life through the human unconscious and subconscious when it comes to the physical plane, when it comes to our planet Earth. Okay, when it falls along the lines of universal evolution in regards to the cosmos, the solar system, and just in space in general, they don't necessarily need the human consciousness, the unconscious and subconscious of a human being to operate, because that's a whole different dimension, so to speak. Okay? So I know this can be a little bit hard to understand, so definitely if you need to listen over over this more than once, do so. Okay? Give yourself that opportunity to really absorb the information. Okay? So, this was the first context that needed to be created because when you're identifying an entity or spirit as being solely outside of yourself, it is harder to understand what an aspect is of a certain type of force. Okay, why is that? People will hear this entity and this entity and this entity is an aspect of this entity. Okay, what exactly does that mean? And yes, I understand this can confuse a lot of people because people start to identify with an entity and start to think it's its own complete being that has no other connections to other types of forces. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of an example here. When we are talking about entities in general, there is a root energetic source that is behind that entity. Okay, so let's use an example. We can talk about the force of Lilith. Okay, we're going to talk about Lilith in this case. Lilith is a dark feminine force. Okay, now when we look at this force of Lilith, we've also heard associations, or there are connections between Lilith and, let's say, maybe the Scarlet Woman from Babylon. Or let's even go as far as saying Nama, who's literally known in the occult field to be a sister with Lilith, or as if they're daughters, which is just basically representing there's an energetic link between Lilith and Nama. Okay? So when we're looking at an aspect of a spirit, we're dealing with that specific archetype of that force that we are trying to understand. So when it comes to Lilith, this would be an archetypal form of the source of what Lilith is. So that is the primary question. That's the real question. What is the source of Lilith? What is the source of the Scarlet Woman? What is the source of these dark feminine energies? Okay, because it gets deeper than that. Okay, so when you're dealing with oftentimes dark feminine energies, the source of these archetypes is going to be primordial chaos or primal chaos. That literally, in regards to astrology and the cosmos and the universe, this is going to be associated with very dense levels of chaos, very primal levels of just chaos that exists within the universe. Okay, so these forces of Lilith, the Scarlet Woman, and Nama, for example, have their roots in chaos. These are chaos entities, so to speak. Now, Lilith is uniquely designed and different than the Scarlet Woman, although they are coming from the same evolutionary source of primal chaos. So, in these regards, Lilith is an aspect of the dark feminine that represents sexual liberation and oftentimes represents independence within your own sexual nature to really go against the grain of programming and religious programming to further understand yourself and your soul. And then you look at the Scarlet Woman, who's another dark feminine force, but the Scarlet Woman more so represents learning how to guide your sexual energy. So Lilith is definitely associated with liberation, standing up for your own independence, so to speak, by going against the grain and feeling liberated as you make these decisions on your own, unconscious, diving into your unconscious and subconscious and trusting your intuition. And then the Scarlet Woman, once again, has to do more so with listening to your intuition in a wise way so that you're using your sexual energy properly. Okay, so there's a difference. Oftentimes, when you're dealing with energies of Lilith, you feel a sexual um, surge. You feel sexual. You feel energies of lust. And these are things that are demonized. And to understand that they're not bad to feel, that would be a value that you can gain from dealing with the entity or the energy of Lilith. Okay, that's liberating once you break out of that barrier or that box. Now, when you're dealing with the Scarlet Woman, you may feel that sexual lust, but then the Scarlet Woman can encourage you to not just waste it on any individual, or not to just waste it on watching some sort of adult programming or whatever the case is. The Scarlet Woman can advise you within your own feminine energetic nature, communicating through your intuition, how to use the sexual energy properly to get the most out of it. So we have Lilith and the Scarlet Woman in this example. Both are dark feminine energies that are associated with the unconscious, subconscious, and the underworld, yet they're two different archetypal properties. They represent different things. These would be two different aspects of that primal chaos that exists in the majority of the universe that we're all within. Okay, so the source of Lilith and the Scarlet Woman would be that primal chaos that makes up the majority of the universe. So when we're talking about entities specifically, there are, oftentimes people know this, there are hierarchies to these entities. And whenever you're dealing with a hierarchy, you're just dealing with the different layers of that entity or that force that is at the source of those entities. So, for example, we have Lilith and we have the Scarlet Woman. These are two very powerful dark feminine archetypes of the primal chaos. But guess what? There's a force that's a little bit closer to that primal chaos, and that force would be known as the Tiamat, or even the Leviathan. Okay, the Tiamat is even closer to the primal chaos that exists in our universe today, and is an extremely dark feminine force that has a deeper resonance to deeper areas within your own unconscious and subconscious. Okay, literally, the word Tiamat is actually the archetypal name for primal chaos. That's what it represents, and this dates back all the way to the Enuma Elish, which came out of the Mesopotamian culture 6,000 years ago. Okay, very fascinating stuff. I have YouTube videos that discuss all this stuff. I highly recommend you check it out. It's very important to understand. But that force of Tiamat is representing an even deeper layer to your own consciousness, way within the unconscious and the subconscious specifically, and is also representing a more profound energetic structure within chaos itself that exists in the majority of our universe. So if you want to look at it like this, Lilith and the Scarlet Woman are two different aspects of Tiamat. Okay? They're all these dark feminine forces are literally represented by the same source, which is primal chaos. So this is what an aspect is. Okay? This is exactly what an aspect is, and this is how hierarchies can come into play with different aspects. Okay? So when you're dealing, for example, with Lucifer, let's use an example. You have Lucifer, and there are certain types of people that will say Lucifer is an aspect of Samael, or Lucifer is an aspect of Azazel. Okay? What exactly is this representing? Well, let's first take a look at what Lucifer really is and what he represents primarily. Lucifer is the fallen angel. Right there, right off the bat, we can see even within the name of Lucifer, there is a balance of polarities that's taking place. On one end, he's associated as an angel, and on the other end, he's a fallen angel. So we see a positive mixed in with a negative. This shows us a lot about the nature of this force of Lucifer just off of its name. Okay? So Lucifer, being a fallen angel, used to be revered very powerfully in the realm of the angelic, but then rebelled, went against the grain of the objective structure of God, and then started to gain rulership as he was cast down into the underworld, started to control his unconscious and subconscious, and then gain authority over the underworld, over primal chaos. So Lucifer is a masculine force that has angelic attributes, angelic awareness, objective, logical, intellectual, analytical awareness that recognizes the power truly resides within the unconscious and the subconscious. So from a scientific basis, Lucifer represents the hidden part of chaos that creates order. So when you look at Samael, we have the same concept that's taking place. When you look at Azazel, we have the same concept that's taking place. Look at Samael. Literally, Samael exists in the Sephiroth, in the sphere of Gavura, and then Samael exists in the Qliphoth, in the sphere of Samael. Okay? We see Samael's connection to the angelic and Samael's connection to the demonic. The same exact concept with Lucifer, the fallen angel. Okay? This is an aspect of the same force, which is the hidden part of chaos that creates order. And if you look into the science that goes behind chaos theory, there literally is a hidden part of chaos that does create order. So from a more so archetypal perspective, we've given this the name in our today's time as Lucifer. It showed up in our today's time as Lucifer. And this force has been worshipped and invoked and processed for many years now. Okay, people have been giving this type of force, the hidden part of chaos that creates order, a name for many years now. Okay, but right now in 2022, it's Lucifer. But then, as we just discussed, Samael is an aspect of Lucifer. Okay, and then Azazel, if people think that Azazel, Samael, and Lucifer are the same thing, then Azazel is an aspect of Lucifer. Okay, we're just getting more so down to the source of where these forces are coming from. So the source of Lucifer is the hidden parts, the hidden aspect of chaos that creates order. And this is what an aspect is. Okay? And this is why Lucifer is known to have rulership within the underworld and is also known to command the demons. So when we're looking at the Ars Goetia, they have, anything that's demonic is truly going to have its source in chaos, in primal chaos, which is directly connected to your own unconscious and subconscious. But if you really want to, if you want to get a little bit more intellectual with it, the first, the hierarchy would primarily go like this. You have the Ars Goetia, and then you have Lucifer, because Lucifer is a masculine force. I know a lot of people say Lucifer is also a feminine force, and that's correct, because once again, we're talking about the source of these energies, which once again is in primal chaos, which is feminine, but Lucifer's primary quality is representing the part of chaos that creates order, which is masculine in nature. Okay? This is why Lucifer is always depicted as a male. Okay, so that is a feminine uniqueness, or excuse me, that is a masculine uniqueness to that force. And then when you look at the Ars Goetia, if you actually pay attention and you're studying from books that are a little bit more ancient, a little bit more to the ancient roots of the Ars Goetia, you will actually see they are all men. All the Ars Goetia are he, him, he, him. And that's representing that masculine quality to the unconscious and subconscious that tries to create order out of the unconscious and subconscious. So you would have the Ars Goetia, then you would have the masculine demonic forces, and then the deeper roots are the dark feminine forces, going all the way up to that black dragon, Tiamat Leviathan, as one of the most primal draconian chaos archetypes you can work with. Okay, and they're all associated with different locations of your brain, primarily your unconscious and subconscious. Okay, and that's what an aspect is. Okay, so all of the different Ars Goetia could be considered an aspect of Lucifer to some degree. Okay, and that's, that's my perspective on the matter, and I think it can really simplify a lot of the occult field to recognize this, rather than confusing yourself with, okay, well, if this, if this force shows up, then maybe it's not a good idea for me to just identify this force as its own solid entity without any connections to anything else. Because we're talking about the source of things here. We're going deeper than just face value. We're recognizing everything is truly connected to our own unconscious and subconscious, which literally means that all these entities you work with, there is a fraction of that entity that literally exists in your own soul, exists in your own energy field, literally a part of your own brain, unconsciously and subconsciously, which you can make conscious the more that you deal with that energy and process it. Okay? So that's the first thing that we're recognizing. We're also connected to these energies, and we are actively using them to open up certain layers of our consciousness and awareness. And then the next thing that we're recognizing is that there literally is this hierarchy to energetic forces that gets deeper to the source of where these energies are stemming from. So this is why I said it's important to understand the mythology of the Enuma Elish, because you're going to see the creation story of the gods, which is representing the creation of the angelic, of the demons, of the god figures, okay, which comes from Tiamat. It comes from chaos. And this is all stuff that science proves. Science has solidified this awareness, okay? The top scientists in the world, not necessarily the mainstream ones, but the real top scientists, they recognize that dark energy is literally the majority of the universe, and we are all energetically tied to it. We are all connected to it, and that is our unconscious and our subconscious, okay? And that would be represented as the Tiamat creation story, where creation came out of chaos, and also creation will end from chaos, and it will return. And it's an ongoing cycle, so to speak, just like the Ouroboros, okay? So that's it. This is going to simplify things for you if you really understand what it is that I'm talking about. That is what an aspect is. Don't overly confuse yourself, okay? Be patient, and it will start to make sense as time goes on, okay? So I'm going to leave it there. If you enjoyed this video, definitely come down here and hit the thumbs up. Also come down here and hit the notification bell, because I post videos as often as I can, and obviously with content like this, you definitely don't want to be missing out. Oftentimes I will post things that you need to hear exactly when you need to hear them, okay? Almost as if we are in sync. And if you want to further link into this content and get more bang for your buck, so to speak, hit the subscribe button and literally link into my channel. Link into it energetically. That there is a property to that, just so that you understand that. So hit the subscribe button, unless you don't want to link to it. Okay, that's up to you. Okay, so the next thing that I would like to say is you have my full permission to copy and paste the link for this YouTube video and send it out to any family, friends, or social media platforms that you feel like would be interested in this type of content. You have my full permission. My intent is to spread this content like a freaking wildfire, okay? And it has been. It's been working. Okay, so let's continue to do that. Okay, now also come down here, add me on Instagram, JER_477, literally the easiest thing to type in, and see what I do on social media. Okay, check me out over there. And then if you would like to gain access to a private Facebook community where there is tons of valuable occult information. I mean, people are posting books that you typically can't get access to. People are having good conversations, things in that nature. Go into the YouTube description, click the little drop down, scroll down a bit. You will eventually come across a post that says private Facebook community. Right below it is a link. Click the link, follow where the link takes you, request to join my private Facebook group, and I will gladly add you in. And obviously you can stay in as long as you're not chaotic, okay? Because I have removed a couple people and it is what it is. So if that's something you're interested in, request to join. If not, forget about it, okay? Now I want to say this. This is literally the most important link within the entirety of the YouTube description and this entire YouTube video. This is the first link in the YouTube description. Once again, click the drop down. You can't miss it. It says my Patreon right there. That's obviously going to take you right to my Patreon, okay? On my Patreon, I have an entire vault of exclusive occult content that is not on my public YouTube channel. That is for many reasons. Pretty much this occult information that's on my Patreon is more advanced. It is for the more advanced studier and practitioner, okay? Right now, there are over 170 members, and it is continuously thriving as time goes on, and it will go up as time goes on. There is content that ranges from live streams to blog posts to videos that are very similar to this one, going into very much depth about certain types of occult concepts and information and things in that nature. And then for tier 3 and up, you gain access to an entire magic training course, which is absolutely amazing, especially if you're a beginner trying to learn how to develop your psychic capabilities. I would recommend it. Tier 3 and up is what is the tier that you gain access to that at, okay? And then for tier 4, this is the most popular tier on my entire Patreon, and that's obviously for many reasons. This is what I call the Universe B Vampire Service, okay? So for this tier, on the 29th of every single month that has a 29th, 29, 2 plus 9 equals 11, creates the hidden 11th sphere, Dath, 100% manifestation. This is a service that I perform on you using an advanced occult ritual where I completely change your energetic structure to be more Universe B dominant. So what this means is that you naturally will become more receptive to your own unconscious and subconscious, and that will affect your outer environment, which will make you more receptive to chaos and dark energy around you, which gives you the ability to turn that, to integrate it, so to speak, into your own power. This is literally what an occult vampire is, and I can do this for you for the top tier service, and there are a lot of top tier members that are taking full advantage of it, okay? So if this is something you're interested in, check out the first link in the YouTube description. Nothing else needs to be said there. I'll leave it there. With that being said, I would love to give a special shout out to all of the top tier members, all of the members in general of the Patreon, specifically for taking your knowledge, practices, and studies to that other side. Huge shout out to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Now, this is the second link I want to take your awareness to. This is right within the YouTube description, second link below. This is where you can book a tarot card reading with me. Now, what is very unique about this tarot card reading is I can pinpoint exactly where you are on the Kabbalistic tree, because I'm a professional occultist who understands Kabbalah way more, way light years more than the average person. And I can tell you what you're experiencing, feeling, and going through in the present moment, and then tell you what to expect moving into your near future and your long-term future based on your position on that Kabbalistic tree. Very valuable reading. I've done well over 300 readings so far, and 99.9% of the feedback is absolutely amazing. Okay, it's extremely rare that somebody will say, I didn't really resonate with it. And typically when that happens, uh, the person is a little bit too self-important. They think they're a little bit farther than where they're actually at. So yeah, with that being said, if this is something you want to take advantage of, second link below, there's your opportunity. I'll leave it there. Okay. Now, the third link within the YouTube description, click down, can't miss it. This is where you can become a YouTube member. Okay. Now, as you become a YouTube member, you gain many different types of benefits. Okay. But one of the most important benefits is the fact that you gain access to the psychic warfare emoji system, which means you get access to using emojis that I've specifically created myself according to occult concepts and principles that can be used in a certain configuration to cause psychic damage to a target of your choice. It is the most simple form to use psychic warfare. Okay? And there are tons of people that are literally using it as we speak right now. Okay? And you would be shocked to see. Now, also, as you become a YouTube member, you gain a badge right next to your name, which appears as green. You get introduced into the YouTube community, which is a very fun and welcoming community. And I give you special shout outs whenever I am doing a live stream if you're a YouTube member. Everyone knows that about me when I'm in the live streams. And you have access to leaving a question every single month that you're a member that appears in the exact same way as a super chat. And when super chats show up in my live streams, I cover them in the most depth and I guarantee we'll cover them. Okay? All accessible as you become a YouTube member. Okay? Now that is going to wrap this up. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day or night, wherever you are, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.